You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
You, I don't know if you were paying attention, Mike, when I was talking about Richmond before we got into the race there on Monday night, but I had done a test where I had let David know and a bunch of them that were on just the different how much the heat and the tire wear was different from 5% difference going more rear brake than front, and how much it changed the temperatures in the tires on a run of 40 laps. Well, and I think David kind of already, talked about this. There's differences between how you would do it in road racing compared to you do it on ovals. Obviously, Dave is talking in this video on road, but on ovals, cars tend to build tight on ovals, so you're gonna start pushing the further you get into a run on it most of the time. So sometimes you can combat that by moving the brake bias rear to help you get into the corners better. It's more of like helping to turn in and take some of that heat out of the front of the tires. And then on the road, you could have different. If I don't know if you've ever watched some of the F1 drivers, they're changing brake bias from corner to corner on some of their tracks that they're doing all the time. I don't think David and I go that far when we ever do road stuff, but I do move it around as I'm going in a run sometimes. You need to get some of that. You need to get some of that Brian money. Well, Brian, speaking of builds, or sorry, Mike, speaking of builds here, what do we got going for next year? Well, this kind of, I think this build, if I was gonna like sum it up, it kind of just is a cleanup of the season, right? There's nothing spectacular about it. I mean, like David was saying, if you were a road guy, you got to be excited. You get a couple, you get a track, you get the new Porsche Cup car that they're going to use there, um, new Ferrari. I mean, it's we've been so lucky on the oval side to have some of the focus on some of the things they do, and it's good to see the road side has gotten it. I mean, if imagine if you were a dirt guy or um, anything like that, they're all going to vary from season to season. I just think this build was kind of like tying up some loose ends and finishing off the year. I think that was my quote. I think that was part of what I said. I think if you would have had every other car got a change. So if you look at the Xfinity car got the shock change, and so did the truck, um, and they got a little bit of tire change, but they didn't affect anything on the Cup car at all. And like you guys alluded to, obviously that car is going away. Obviously, we got what 8 races left with it, 8 weeks left with it, and then an off season. Now, David, do you think that some of this might have to be for that to actually view it on the track and see how it kind of reacts to an accident too? Like, I mean, that does cars do break differently when in an accident. Maybe because the bodies are a little different, they're trying to see what it might look like. Yeah. So I guess the Trading Paints is having, or someone was asking in the forums how to get the Trading Paints AI roster into iRacing. So I guess it was Busa that was asking it. Um, so on Trading Paints, it says all you have to do is favorite a collection, open your downloader, and open iRacing UI. However, any roster I favorite does not show up in drop down lists when I try to set up the AI session or host a session with AI. What am I missing? Um, okay, so that's basically what he was just reporting it, and then they did fix it. Are you sure it's not the chosen car? Uh, it's not even started. On the broadcast here for us, I have it freeze framed on one of the cars. It has the iRacing logo right on the front hood of the car. Clash isn't flat. It'll be the chase plus pulse or stuff, right? They'll have stipulations, something like that. You're probably never gonna see this as a regular season track because I don't see them wanting to risk because there's so many unknowns. Like obviously, if they race this one, they're gonna know about the. But can you temporarily put down a track every year to run a race there? Like, what happens if one year the track doesn't take and it ruins or they have something bad happen to it? Well, what they'll do is you just put a steering box in it that makes it do it. They can always make the car turn sharper. Do you think this is kind of sorry, David. I think this is kind of maybe a test that something small like this helps them feed into get into these quarter mile tracks and go to some of these smaller ones like the Nashville one, which is a bit bigger, isn't it? The Nashville short track's pretty good, a little bit bigger than what this would be. But is it kind of maybe just like a test session to see if these cars in a race would be good around something like that? Do you think that they do sometime try and go to, say, a quarter mile track like this and capitalize on like having a branding of something like, say, like the Monster 1000? It could be like a 1,000 lap race because it's only a quarter mile, right? Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, like having one of those big events. But the thing is, and I think the biggest question is why are they dragging the first year of this new car? Like, I just don't understand how the owners said okay, because with their council, would they not have some say in this, saying, we got to drag brand new cars all the way across, and it only has to be half of um, the field, so half the field could lose one car already out of one part of their season of something that they haven't built inventory for, and all these manufacturers that are making their parts haven't built inventory for. It just seems this could be something good for 2023. It just seems unnecessary for 2022, don't you think? Well, and there are laws as a truck driver, even as a team truck driving, trying to get these vehicles from one side of the to the other and back and move all over. Because didn't we say on this? Didn't we see on the schedule? I don't know. We're probably talking about the schedule here, but they're gonna go from California to Daytona back to California. Like, what does that make sense? Why would you do that? Well, the other thing that I thought of too when it's coming with this is we are what 4 or 5 months, was it February, right? So what, we're 5, 6 months away from this. What if COVID's still a thing and LA's the one that's the harshest on all their restrictions, are they not? So what if nobody gets to go and see this race in the Coliseum? What if it's locked down all of a sudden because of an outbreak, say in February? I mean, it seems like such a risk. And well, and they have that risk of it having that for all, like, you know, we went to Sonoma this year, but they had to cancel Sonoma the following year. They canceled Fontana, right? Like, it's difficult to know when something's going to get canceled or not. I know football and that seem to be doing whatever they want, but here NASCAR, I don't know if they have that kind of pull if they needed to. Casual. Casual. If you hadn't noticed. Well, and like you're saying there, you have your cell phone. We all have done it where you start looking at something on YouTube and then what, 2 hours later, you're down the rabbit hole of finding this and that, and who's to say they didn't start at our podcast or someone else's podcast and see something on the hardware and direct it somewhere else or a topic, and they just they start finding stuff out that they really need. Well, I mean, Brian's money bags over there. You don't have to worry about us. He's spending it himself. We're not helping him a lot. Here are we? So, it looks like we have a little tease for the Road Atlanta is getting some of its lighting done for, I'm guessing this is in lieu of Petit Le Mans coming up in the next. David, did you know? I don't remember if we figured out when it was actually coming up, but it's not far away, right? Oh, well, it's amazing what happens when we learn on the script. There we go. Anyways, so iRacing shared it on their official Twitter page there. Or is this Twitter or Instagram? Instagram, sorry. And that they have a nice picture of it. It looks like the Porsche. I think it's the new Porsche going around the track there. Looks awesome. I can't wait to see what this track looks like at night because it's a fun track to race. What, the Michelin bridge there? The walking bridge to the pagoda. You come down the hill and make that sharp turn right under the finish line. There's a bridge right there. Okay. Who cares about the NASCAR schedule? It's the NIS schedule. A A opens. I want to see what they're gonna do because iRacing's obviously scanned it, so now they need to update whatever when they go back there next year to see what they've done to that turn. If they're gonna change it with the curbing, and hopefully iRacing keeps on board with it. Is Easter really that late this year or next year? Didn't they talk about? I think they're talking about it was supposed to be night because they wanted to get it without the dust, right? They wanted less of the dust. Well, they always took Mother's Day off and raced on Father's Day, and now they're doing the reverse again, are they not? Well, we're supposed to. What was it? Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, and Phoenix were the ones that were in that updates coming in 2022. This kind of reminds me of what they do with a lot of like video games nowadays. They get it to, because they gotta get it onto a disc. Obviously, they don't have to here, but they gotta get it out for a certain date. So they release it, and then what they call as a day one patch when it's finally drops on the day one of it. But this is kind of like a couple days later where they just finish everything up to that needed to be tweaked.
Just kind of touch-ups that they hadn't finished. So unbeknownst to Greg, we are talking about Petit Le Mans this week. It's coming up. It's a 10-hour endurance race that's held annually at Road Atlanta in Braselton, Georgia. And it's the marquee event, or one of them, for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. It's going to be running on October 1st through 3rd. There's the 4 time slots that have been used in most of the endurance races this year. Obviously, it's running at Road Atlanta, and it'll be using the standard IMSA cars. So you got your LMP1. I think we have 5 GTE cars that can run now. No, I think they still have it cut down to 4 because they added another GT3 car to the class. Could be wrong there, though. They might have all 5 back in.
We lost the link to this page but we'll have to get it back in there. The next event, we heard from a listener, John Fowler, about MASCAR, not NASCAR, but MASCAR. He said the name of the new league is called MASCAR. We will be doing a dirt series that will be starting on the 8th of November. To join, there is a $10 fee. We'll be running 2 different cars. We're going to rotate cars each week. 2 cars are Pro Late models and a 358 modified. We'll be running fixed sets as well. Dirt series will run on Monday nights. Practice starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm working on getting a broadcast to do all 10 weeks. We're going to run the Cup cars next year. When the new season starts, we're going to follow the NASCAR schedule. These races will be on Thursday nights and also will have a $10 fee. So please check out the website. And the website is mascar2021.wixsite.com/league.
So Greg has basically conned me into wrecking his Ford supercar again this weekend.
Got hers.
Doing the Ford?
That's the only one I own, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, have we settled on what date we're doing it?
We have done nothing except for me go onto the track and wreck about 7 times last night and the night before.
So it looks like we got a choice of 4 time slots. So Saturday at 1 o'clock GMT, which is for the Australian servers. Saturday at 7 o'clock GMT is a US server. 12 o'clock GMT US server, and then 1600 GMT US server. I'm guessing we're probably going to be the second time slot, David, or is that's behind? Is it forward or backwards? I can never remember.
7 GMT you don't want to do because that's
12 then.
That's 2 in the morning for your time.
Okay, so it's either
12 is early. 12 would be Saturday morning for us.
12 or the 1600.
For all you guys who like to do simple time mathing in the summer, just take away just -4 if you're in East Coast. Just remember -4, and in the winter it's -5.
I'm excited for this race. I love this track. I love this car. I can't wait.
I still just don't feel right in it. I can't get a rhythm.
I'm trying to remember what rim I raced last year with, if it was my F1 rim or my actual rally rim to try and for this car. I thought I was trying to figure it out, but it'll be interesting to see when we test after the podcast tonight.
I'm currently set up to run on the Formula rim, but the way it's handling, I'm wondering if I should switch over to the oval rim and use a sequential shifter, just the way it's driving.
Well, that's what I think last year I ran the oval rim just because of the way it felt, just because The F1 rim is more of a quick darting rim.
Yeah, and the problems that I'm having there's in a lot of places is actually getting loose on the exit. We'll see.
Get hyped.
We'll report. We'll talk about it next week, and it will basically come down to whether I screw up or not. Probably.
I guess I'll start.
Yeah, that way we ensure you at least get to run some laps. So because you don't want me to spin out right as you're coming into pit road and the other person's about to get in the car. Intimidator challenge is coming up in the sprint cars, Brian.
Well, now that we've bored everybody can come back now.
Yeah, if Tony was here, he would be saying we would see him sleeping on Discord right now.
I think I saw Mike on the camera nodding off there a bit.
This one is a lot more exciting. Go ahead, Brian.
This is called the Intimidator Challenge. We got this from Noah Carmichael. He said on September 24th, him and some friends are going to be hosting the inaugural Intimidator Challenge. So this is going to be a sprint car race, not the dirt sprint cars. This is the wingless asphalt sprint cars at Talladega, which is going to be crazy. So it's going to be a week-long process. They're going to have 4 practice sessions starting between September 18th and the 21st, and then they're going to have a pole night on the 22nd, where they'll find out what 24 drivers are going to make the main event, and they're actually going to expand the field to 33 if they have more than 60 entries. If you do win the pole, you're going to win $50 for that, courtesy of Ambitious Cloud. And then the race itself will be on September 24th at 8 p.m. And it's actually going to be 76 laps at Talladega. They're going to broadcast live on Pitstop TV. So the only cost to enter this is a donation to a GoFundMe page that's been set up by Marshall and Chabrol Pruitt as Chabrol continues an ongoing battle with cancer. So, guys, if you want to sign up, go to that GoFundMe page. Be generous as you can, and help the family out with their cancer issue. But man, sprint cars, if they're geared right, they can hit close to 200 miles. I would think 200 miles an hour at Talladega. And if they go sideways, they're going to roll for miles. The cars are just going to be flipping and flopping for forever at that speed. I mean, you see these sprint cars on these quarter mile, third of a mile tracks flip. They flip 20 times. These cars are going to be going twice as fast. That could be really interesting. As a matter of fact, I might play around with that when I get some free time. How that car runs at Talladega.
It was this time last year I was running this car a lot and ran off all my iRating, and I really haven't gotten it back, and it's been a year. So I really paid the price by running that car for that season. I think it was season 3 or season 4 I ran it, but it's a fun car. Looks like a good event.
So can you actually bump drift in this car in this track?
You can bump draft, but I don't know about Talladega. Other regular tracks you can.
I don't know if you'll be able to draft that much, period. I mean, these cars, I don't know what kind of holes they punch and what kind of drag they're going to cause. Who knows how they even modeled it, to be honest with you, because it's such a fantasy type of matchup.
It probably doesn't have, it definitely doesn't have the, quote, super speedway package, right? Like the completely different engine.
Correct.
And all the,
yeah. No.
So there's no telling what it might do. But we've done stuff like, remember when we did the Radicals at a 2-mile track? And how it was basically like super speedway racing.
Yeah.
Those were fun too. But those cars, I imagine you can't gear them too much because it's just a single speed, right? It's a single speed transmission, so it's not like you can go through the gears to go from up to 200 miles an hour. So if they gear it up as high as they can, it's going to be like a bogged down really bad at the beginning until it starts to wind up.
Let's just hope they tested this before trying to say that they're going to put this event on.
It is the inaugural, but
I'm going to go try it now just to see.
Yeah.
podcast housekeeping notes. Don't forget the Aftermath podcast. You can go out and find that at any podcast platform. We have our new website, iRacersLounge.com. Go there for the show notes. We're over at the Performance Motorsports Network. Check them out. Fantasy. I did bring up the results for this week at Richmond. And I have number 1, Conklin Speedworks. Number 2, Res Dog. 3, Trick Dickel. Tied 4th, and it was tied for 3rd. Oh Baby 44. 5th, Fat Boy 1990. 6th, Tony Groves, TGI1 Racing. 7th, GI Jojo 24X. 8th, Cletus 45. 9th, there you are, Brian Mac Rubbin. And 10th, Smilin' Ninja.
Yeah, that was a good week. Tony Groves, who has been slowly cutting into Res Dog's lead for the overall championship, actually lost a few points this week because Res Dog got 2nd. Tony Groves finished 6th.
Greg, honorable mention in 12th.
Don't even. I just haven't had no luck. I have no luck.
And I was 23rd.
So it looks like Res Dog has about a 60, almost a 70-point lead over Tony Groves with 8 to go. So could be close to coming down to the end. Tony Rochette's made in the top 10 overall standings. He's in 10th place. And yeah, Greg's taken a little tumble lately.
First item we have on the hardware, we're looking at a new batch of Proto-Sim Tech pedals. These pre-orders are coming soon. The additional information is that he's putting out 50 sets and there's a $300 deposit to make your pre-order.
Wow, I thought these were gone forever. Last we heard from this guy, he said he was done making them.
Wasn't this his 3rd or 4th time getting out of it?
Yeah, he had said that before. That's true.
I wonder if the shutdown with COVID changed things and made it where the rest of his life wasn't so hectic that it was worth still doing them.
He's retired more than Hulk Hogan.
And I have to buy a set of pedals for my new cockpit because I'm pretty sure my hanging pedals won't work on that new one.
Go hydraulic.
Yeah, this is $600 though. What a value.
Another, I have to jab it in, even though you stepped on me. He's retired more than, who was it? Hulk Hogan or maybe Michael Jordan?
Jordan only retired once, twice.
Thrice, wasn't it?
Thrice. Well, technically 3 times, because. Anyways, we're not going to get into the technicalities of Jordan. Mike, if we're going to spend your money, you're not going to buy these set. We're going to have to find something more expensive for you that are better.
These are load cell, so.
Yeah, that's not in your price range for this team.
How about he retired more times than Brett Favre?
There you go. But for load cell pedals, guys, these are sought after. I've heard really good things about these in the past in the forums. Everyone who's touched them has said very good things. I think they're, on the same level of the Heiskin builds. So get yours now. You can get a deposit going.
Is there a theme going on with pedals here to start the show?
It looks like it, because Mike's now going to tell us a little bit about some Thrustmaster pedals coming out.
Yeah, we got the T3pm pedals are now available from Thrustmaster, and they put up a video on their Instagram showing them off. What do you guys think?
It looks like they're kind of this is kind of their foot pedals. That they have the ones that look like the Fanatec inverteds that aren't that they're higher end ones, do they not? I'm trying to remember the market line for Thrustmaster, but these kind of look like a really nice version of the way that the Fanatec the V3s sit. I think they look good. I mean, did it have a pricing for it?
I haven't seen that yet, but one thing that really catches me is they say they're magnetic pedals. And so what does that really mean, magnetic? I mean, I see springs behind them, for resistance. So I don't know if is the magnet doing the resistance somehow? Or?
Most of the pedals, as you get up to that point, use something called a Hall effect sensor from a scientist that happen to have the same last name as me, and it can basically just detect the motion of a magnetic field.
Is this kind of like how they have some of those magnetic shifters too? The way that they use for those clicking shifters, is it that type of stuff, or is that just a pressure, like a point for the clicking shifters that are magnet?
I think I'm not sure, but I think this is speculation. The magnet sensor, the magnetic shifters, is actually affecting the way it physically moves, whereas a Hall effect sensor is just something that can detect motion.
I mean, this is kind of a good thing to have. It looks like Thrustmaster's kind of trying to get into the PS5, Xbox Series X market, like trying to get with PC as well, so they are more diverse in what their customer base.
I've never had Thrustmasters, so I don't know a lot about them.
Chris was running Thrustmaster for a long time, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was the guy who probably knows the most about him.
Yeah, I think his whole setup was Thrustmaster before. I think he's come over to the dark side now.
Well, as we're talking about the what we would probably consider some of the entry-level brand wheels, we have possibly Logitech jumping over to the direct drive wheel, maybe, Mike?
Yeah, this is from a YouTube video from someone named Random Call Sign. Is his YouTube name, and he does a review on quite a few different wheels, including the new Thrustmaster. He does talks a little bit about the new Fanatec CSL DD, and one of the things that he speculates is he sees an early design of what looks like might be a new Logitech wheel that could be force feedback. So Logitech has not gotten into the force feedback market at all at this point. And it seems like with the lower price points for some of these new ones that we've been seeing with Fanatec and the others like that they might be getting into this lower price point market maybe for direct drive.
Did you mean direct drive? Because they have had force feedback. I'm
sorry, did I say that?
Yeah.
I meant
you
direct
said force
drive.
feedback.
I'm sorry, direct drive.
Though they don't call it.
Yeah, that's right.
So Mike's bad with words. I'm bad with geography.
Look at the video at the 123 mark, and you'll see a box, and it shows PlayStation version on the bottom, Xbox version on the top, and it says Pro. That's the name of it. I can't see the word underneath Pro, but
it's True Force.
True Force. There you go. So that's the name of it, and it sure looks like a real product since there's a box.
Do you think it's kind of a... I hate when they've designed these products for the, to have the console market brought into the PC stuff, or the wheelbase companies, where Xbox and PlayStation can't seem, or Microsoft and PlayStation can't seem to match together and get the same. Could you get a nicer wheel and have both of them compatible? Like, even when you're buying like Fanatec and stuff like that, you have to have a different hub. Like, at some point, just the consumers aren't gonna, a lot of consumers have multiple consoles. Are they gonna want to go down a road of having two different wheelbases and things like that if they want to run things on different things, or do they, or you force them to choose, right?
Well, it kind of comes down to the same reason certain telecom companies want you to only be able to buy their peripheries, right? Or peripherals, and don't make it compatible with other standards, right? So that I just think not Logitech, but Xbox is mostly PC based, right? Whereas Sony I think, is not, and that's where it's kind of coming down to who they won't agree on the standard. Because if you're following one standard, they have to buy your stuff.
So I think it makes sense that Logitech gets a direct drive wheel out. The market is right for it, with the CSL DD, and then you had the SemiCube one, and now maybe Logitech, and so on.
And it's following the same trend that most technology does, right? The first direct drives were, way up there, but as more competitors get in, they start finding more and more ways to bring the cost down. Some of that just being a matter of volume.
Well, and the hardest thing for Logitech is most of their wheels from start, like anything that was force feedback in the Logitech line, pretty much cost the same through the years, did it not? Like, you never really spent more than what, $350 for a rim and pedals, and if you wanted to add the shifters, sometimes you could add it for another $100 or less. Like, Logitech never really had anything more. So like you're saying, David, if the markets come down where they can make it get closer to that price range where like Fanatec has done with their baby one, maybe that's why they might be thinking of getting into the market now.
Well, yeah, it's not the market that's come down; it's the build costs that's come down, right? And they've just not wanted to cater to a $2,000 wheel. It's not their business model.
Yeah, but it can be. It does have to do with market costs. Yes, things get cheaper to make, but do you think a TV that was 8K, or when you bought your 4K TV, do you think it costs thousands of dollars more when it first comes out compared to build, compared to what it is by the time it's down to $1,000? I don't think so. It's the market dictates that too.
Somewhat, but the cost of the equipment and the technology is higher further back than just building the TV. The stuff that's going into the TV is more expensive until there's been a lot of it built. Because one of the things that goes into the cost of making things is designing the things that make them. So they start finding cheaper and cheaper ways to make the same technology. You like food, Greg?
Who doesn't like food?
I don't know what this particular headline's about, but we have something called track cams for gourmets.
So I think Bobby shared this, did he not, Mike? Is this where this is from? This is from Bobby, and he was talking about it's a website, it's trackcams22.com, and they have
That's what they call it. Track cams for gourmets. That's the name of the website.
Yeah, so basically if you're video editing or doing stuff, I guess even for broadcast too, right, Mike? They could, they're really nice camera angles, and they, it's just different plugins for the iRacing app to work around with cameras. I guess it can help with some photography and some other stuff too as well. On the site they have, what does it look like, paints here as well. I don't know what was under the paint stuff. I guess it was just showing some of their work here, but they're basically under packages here of, getting certain cameras, I guess, with these packages for different tracks as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you click into it, you can get like the base package download for free, as long as you don't use it in a stream or in a broadcast. Now, he has paid versions that you can pay him for that you can use in a stream or a broadcast. So it just depends on what your use case is. If you recall, I found some cameras on the forums that were free that I installed into the sim. It's pretty easy to load these up. You just hit Control F12. You'll see in the bottom right a load car and load track, and you click each one of those and load the file that you see when you click it. And that's how you load these custom cameras that you can get. And Bobby pointed this one out just because it's another source for quality broadcast cameras.
Well, if you look on the website here too, the one that they really have that I kind of like, that was kind of cool. They got it. Even though this one's called a fan cam. Did you ever look at the video for that, Mike? It's basically from the fans' perspective on all the tracks that he's got listed here. But the way that he's got it designed, it looks like you're sitting in either grandstands or right up against a fence on a road course, camping areas, things like that.
Right, and the heads sweep from one side to the other as they go by. Yeah, pretty cool. There's a lot of different ones. They have oval package, road package, VR experience, and so on.
I would have to check that out.
For some reason, there's nothing showing up under the VR one, though. Oh, there we go. Never mind. Now it came up.
I mean, I stream while I'm in VR, but so that would, I don't know if you would have to, but you can't use anything live, you know, when you're actually racing. It'd be interesting for replays, though.
So
It's for replays, is watching replays in VR.
So basically, David, what it's doing is it makes it feel like you're standing on the track or something like that from what it looks like from the video here.
Yeah, it says Group 1 is scenic, Group 2 is grid, Group 3 is VR experience, 2 to 5 sets of camera groups exclusively to be used with the VR headset. Depending on track, this includes general admission or grandstand positions, marshal post positions, or standing trackside.
Those marshal and or spotter posts, like if you have if you want to be up there where you can see the whole track, those would be pretty important for anybody that has live admins for a race.
And as long as you're not streaming, you can go in here and try these things. Like I said, it's real easy to use in sim. The ones that I got, I was monkeying around with. They're pretty fun.
I've bookmarked the site to use it for some future endeavors.
I think next we're going to try to spend some of Mike's money and talk about this next level racing rig some more.
Yeah, I finally got an actual review. Obviously, I've been talking about it on the show, been telling all my teammates about it, and of course, every Google and Facebook and everybody are, showing me ads. They're showing me videos about it. You know, they're marketing to me. And so I found a review video that I hadn't found before of this cockpit. And this guy, puts it through its paces. He talks about the good and bad and what he thinks of it. One thing that really caught my eye about what he said was the seat. This bucket seat that they have on it that looks kind of wide for the, if you're a bigger guy. He said it wasn't really great. He said he had a little problem with, if he wanted to put his head back, it didn't feel comfortable. And so it really made me think twice about that chair, because initially I was thinking, oh yeah, that chair looks fine, I'll just get that. But it's really good to see these reviews, just so you have another person's opinion.
Yeah, bucket seat's the way to go.
And of course, I'm just drooling over this cockpit again. I'm pretty much set on I want to buy it. I was telling everybody, what's first? Am I going to buy the quad mount or the seat or the cockpit? And I'm kind of in that decision point right now.
If you're buying everything from the same thing, do you not benefit over the term? Like, if you keep shipping things separately, would it not cost you a little bit more in the end, do you think?
No, once you get into big rig stuff like this, you're getting into something that's closer along the lines of per pound rather than just a flat rate.
Remember, this company doesn't have traditional, purchase off their website and they ship it to you like most companies. They're selling their stuff through Amazon, Best Buy, and places like that. And so if you want to buy one of these, you have to go to one of those resellers. Newegg,
So you could go to Best Buy and buy it, and then you can get it shipped to your Best Buy or your house.
Right. You literally buy it from bestbuy.com. So I don't know if the shipping is going to be a consideration because you're buying it from these large retailers like Amazon.
But they still charge shipping on most things, even though if you've got something like Prime, you get cut rates on that most of the time or free.
I was gonna say probably Best Buy if you're buying at Best Buy, if it's in the warehouse and they're just moving ship, it's being trucked along back to Best Buy somewhere else. I'm sure there's probably no shipping cost on it either, depending on unless they have to get it there some other way.
Well, my idea is like I'm going to build it while I still have my old cockpit still in use. I'll have basically one being built, and I'll have one I'm using, and eventually I'll switch.
Well, we got another cockpit that Brian's going to tell us a little bit about. It something to do with hounds.
Yeah, we're going to unleash the hounds on this one. So this is called a Simhound Cockpit. It's a 80/20 profile type rig, very very similar to what you see in a lot of them. But this one's not super heavy duty looking, certainly not to the level of the one that we were just talking about. It's got a nice, pretty blue color though, if you're into the blue one. But the deck mount on it for the wheelbase does not look super duper strong. I guess it should be okay. He's racing with a DD1 or DD2. It's hard to tell, but he's racing with a direct drive wheelbase on it. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch this whole video, but judging from the pictures, it looks like it's a average type of 80/20.
So I fast forward to a spot where he's got it built here on the video, Brian, and he's testing the flex of it. The wheelbase part doesn't seem like it has a lot of flex. I don't know, Mike, I don't know if you saw this part, but compared to yours, I don't know what the flex level is there. But the flex I see is in that seat. That seat moves way too much when he hits the brake pedal.
Yeah, this is a inexpensive, 80/20 kind of profile rig, as inexpensive and as low key as you could probably make it, But the price is reflective of that. I mean, 295 pounds from the UK. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad price for what you're getting.
We found a right foot breaker here. He uses 1 foot for both. That's not very often you see somebody that races with 1 foot.
Isn't it a little bit more popular in sports cars because it allows them to do the heel toe shift technique?
He has a Maranello version, if I said that right. It's all bright red, like Ferrari red. I kind of like that.
It looks like it would be real like tail heavy, getting out of some of these rigs that are not real well supported in the front. You can actually like pull a wheelie on your rig when you're getting out of them. Yep.
Does that seat come with it? I didn't even notice when he was building it. I'm guessing that seat's with it.
Well, they sell bucket seats separately on their website.
I think with the spot that they have, the cheapest part is where it seems to be like I said, where it's flexing is the seat mount area.
It's probably the lightest gauge, and then it's not the profile gutter sizes are not that wide either. But you can buy both of those, and it's pretty lightweight. We'll keep rolling down the chassis, which is we've got one called the Overpower OP that Greg's going to tell us a little bit about.
You from Simpit, is it Simpit, right? Yeah. So I guess if you go to the website for this company, it's called overpowered.gg. So it's I'm trying to figure out from is that? I'm
It's
guessing
a wood.
it's wood, so it's laser cut.
And it's not like it's kind of like a particle board, but like a high-end particle board, like an MDF.
Yeah, so it's so it's cut, it's laser cut to perfection. You can obviously get it in a bunch of different colors and design, or and it looks like it has a lot of adjustment to it. It looks like when he's first installing it here, he's got it sitting in the formula, or it's in a formula style rig, but it doesn't look too bad. He looks like from the video here as well. There doesn't seem to be a lot of flex or anything. Definitely an interesting design for a rig. I think we've talked about this rig before.
Yeah.
We just they never had a review of it, but it looks like a decent rig with all the different mounting or adjustment points for it. I just don't know how, you'd be spending a long time adjusting with that, and I don't know if any of those adjustment areas will ever wear out if you move it inside something like that.
Pretty handily in this video from the sim pit here, he gets to the end and does a summary of his good and bad, his pros and cons. So we can actually read those down pretty quick. It's around minute 32:57. If you jump there, you can see the summaries. So he likes the fact that it's extremely adjustable for both for a wheel pedal, seat monitor. It says it's stiff and stable. It'll hold monitor adequately. He likes the styling. He said it's the most formula cockpit he's ever driven, and it's he likes the modular design of it, so it's easy to upgrade. He says it's compatible with all the equipment. He likes the finish. It's a nice combination. It has the best integrated monitor stand that he's tested so far. He likes that it's also got a really comfortable driving position and also comfortable padding. He likes the way they use profile hardware on other parts of the rig. So they must have some 80/20 integrated in there that we didn't pick up on. It can be separated for storage, and it has a motorized pedal adjustment.
Yeah, I watched this, and I think the big thing he was conveying was, man, there is no flex in the wheel at all. I mean, it is rock solid, and the design leads to that because the sides of this thing are whole. They're the real thick wood, the MDF wood, and this the way it's designed. I mean, it's not going to budge.
This is a company out of Finland, actually. And if you go on their website and look at their About Us section, it shows like his first time he built a rig for racing. It's made all out of 2x4s, but it's really pretty neat. It's not something he designed to sell. It was just something that he made for himself. It's actually really cool looking. It's just he's got those egg carton type of cushions on it just to soften up the wood a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see the history of this.
If you take a look at the not so good on the summary, the probably most two notable ones are that it is very low to the ground. So, Mike's probably not going to like that one. He'll have a little trouble getting in and out. And then it's also pretty expensive with all the add-ons.
They have
like €700 for the entry level.
They have a child seat option for it, so you can attach a child seat to it.
Yeah, I did see the video where he's getting in and out to show you how easy it is to get in and out of. And he struggles a little bit because that area where you would have to slide your foot through is pretty small. And he doesn't look like a real tall guy. I don't know that for sure, but I imagine if you're a little bit bigger, that's going to be even tougher.
My parents used to even complain about ever riding with me just because my car would sit so low to the ground. My real car, getting in and out of it was a pain in the rear. So, if you're gonna get down there, you better either be in shape or mount it up, one of the two. All right, I got the next one. We got the Akiforce wireless button box prototype. So I'm taking a look at this. There's not a whole lot of information. It's a Facebook page, and it looks like they're taking beta tester applications. And it kind of almost looks like what you get with the hub, where it's four little. It's like an X behind the rim.
Button cluster.
I'm thinking so. It's four button clusters that are attached to this rim, and I don't know if it comes with the rim or is a separate piece. But yeah, it does remind me of the button clusters that come on some of the competitors.
Called a hub.
So the Akiforce wheel has always been a wired wheel. So this is wireless. So this is the prototype for them to do wireless finally. Now, I'm sure Chris Scales is very interested in this. I haven't asked Chris how he's handling the wheel being wired. They have a link on this in the comments of this Facebook post on their Facebook page. If you're interested in beta testing the new wireless wheel box, they have a page you can go sign up, and they'll send you one.
So is this for them trying to go the Fanatec way of having some hardware that attaches in and you don't have to have...
Yeah, Bluetooth.
Is it using Bluetooth?
I'm just guessing. I mean, it's wireless.
Or did they finally come up with some way of using what they already had and getting the hardware out of it to work? Because if it's Bluetooth, couldn't there be a delay sometimes?
That's what some other wheels use, is Bluetooth.
Might explain some of the racing on the track.
All right, next up, the $3,000 GeForce RTX 4090 price prediction. And this is an article from PCGamer.com. And the article title is, "I'm not buying the $3,000 4090 price prediction, but should I?" And he goes on to discuss about, is this really going to be the pricing? And one of the reasons why is Graphically Challenged on Twitter actually put out their price predictions based on what they think on the miners and the gaming market. And so they think the RTX 4090 is going to be $3,000, while the 4080 Ti will be $2,000. The 4080 will be $1,200, the 4070 $800, and so on down the road.
David, should we go back to your discussion about the expensive part of it, where components are expensive to start off with? Or are they just gouging us?
Well, anything is worth what you'll pay for it. So you're right on the market side that if people will pay for it, they're going to charge that until people stop paying for it, and then they'll drop the price. But there is a thing with technology too, that like I said before, they get cheaper to make, like drastically cheaper to make after a time.
Now, well, I'm looking up a new egg right now for the existing GeForce RTX 3090s, and they're $3,500 right now.
The article goes on to say that the 4090 commanding 3,000 wouldn't be unprecedented either if you put it into proper context. Bear in mind that for the current generation, the 3090 is essentially a Titan card, but branded as the GeForce RTX part. Historically, Titan cards have commanded premium dollars. Here's a rundown of each one's launch pricing. So the Titan RCX started at $2,500. The Titan 5 was $3,000. The Titan XP was $1,200. And if you recall the GTX Titan Z dual GPU, it was $3,000.
I just can't see spending that kind of money on the graphics card.
Man, that's like that's an entire
computer.
PC, man. Yeah.
Because if you get a 700, that's about what I spent on my computer was $3,000. But I have a $700-800 graphics card. It's crazy.
Well, I think we might have time to pick up one more hardware before. Take a look at the clock, Mike, and I'll cover this one while you're having a look. We got the thrust. Another post about the Thrustmaster. So Fanatec is out. Here's the post by Bobby Childs on the iRacing forums. Fanatec is out there producing sim wheels that are identical to the Porsche, BMW, and McLaren, etc. So it looks like Thrustmaster is going to give us a wheel from the Dodge Caravan.
He's making fun of them.
Basically,
It's actually kind of funny.
basically he's throwing shade at it because they basically generically are designing these wheels because of the, if you think about it, they're designed for a normal person to run on a console. If you Thrustmaster and Logitech, their wheels are so bland because they're meant for the consumers of all the products that they're trying to get it for. And when you got kids trying to race with these wheels and stuff, their hands have to be able to reach buttons and things like that, so they're generically done like that.
And if you model a wheel off of one of those other cars, you're not just paying for design, you're paying for the name at that point.
Yeah, like, David, what you have the Formula rim from Fanatec, and that was what, $2.99, $3.99?
It was free because I had to wait on my direct drive for.
But you know what I'm. You know what
I don't remember. I don't know.
I think it was.
Actually don't know what it cost.
I think it's $2.99 if that was what it around. And then they brought, that's probably a more sophisticated rim than the McLaren GT3 rim, which costed at the time around the same price. So what are you paying for? The name brand.
So there's a link to the wheel further down in the forum post. It's a hybrid belt and gear driven system. And the announcement was put out August 31st from Thrustmaster, a press release about this wheel called the T3pm. And it says the new force feedback racing wheel to master each track.
Quick update on the price. The Club Sport Formula wheel that I have effectively is $369.
Okay. So basically, Mike, if you're saying it's a hybrid belt gear wheel, so they're still putting out Toyota Priuses while everybody else is making McLaren P1s and Ferrari stuff. It's basically what you're equivalent to, technology-wise.
Would there be a market for some retro shit car wheel designs? Like, can we get a Pinto replica?
It wouldn't have anything but a horn in the center, so it'd be like a triangle. You get those old. I think they're talking about the old speaking of old Caravan, wouldn't it be like that little box front? It was a box in the center of it, and there was nothing in the box. It looked like a box in the center of the steering wheel.
I've got a business idea for Groves if he wants to really jump into the do-it-yourself market. He could actually just head to the junkyard, grab every wheel he could find, install some electronics, and start making rims to throw on bases.
All right, let's get into results. We have the NIS Richmond Friday Open. I was DQ'd out of the race with 6 to go. I kept getting running over from behind for some reason. It was like 3 different times I got hit from behind. And I spun off pit road and I hit the wall at one point. I come off pit road and I gassed it and it turned immediately into the inside wall. The wheel spun real quickly, and my hand actually got caught up in it, my left hand, and I felt like I actually sprained my thumb, and I was hurting. I was actually driving one-handed after that, and I was telling Tony, man, this is not good, but the next day it was okay. It's still a tiny bit sore. Here we are a few days later, or almost a week later, but I think I'll be okay, but that is the first time I've really injured myself with my direct drive wheel. Tony Rochette, P10. Few people in my and Mike's split had server issues. I had issues. I got booted under caution. I made it back down from 3 laps. Enough cautions. I made it back to the lead lap. All right, and then Sunday Open, Greg wrecked out.
Yeah, Sunday's race. That was the first race I raced last week of Richmond because of my back problems. I got in it to test it out, and I was running fine. And I think that was a top split. David and I were in the same race there, and just minding my own business, running along, and gave somebody the position on the bottom, and they wrecked down the backstretch. And because I gave that guy on the bottom, he had the out, and I had where the wreck went. So it's just unfortunate what happened.
And then David, you got wrecked out early 26.
Yeah, just a guy that decided he wanted to keep coming across the nose, and he came across it and forced me under the apron, making me bounce back into him. And somebody else arc brakes right into my nose, and that was the end of the day. I limped around and brought it home 26th.
Okay. Sunday fixed. I got P11. I got involved in several wrecks that were not my doing, but I soldiered on. Got a drive-through for too many incidents, but still ended up with a decent run. I'll take it.
Hey, Mike, I dropped in at the end of your race there, and there's something I want to talk about real quick. You guys had a late restart, and as you guys are lined up getting ready to come to green, one of the people in your race there started counting down 3, 2, 1 for the start of the race. He's like 3, 2, 1, go, but didn't go. The car on the outside, who was fooled by this, took off and passed the leader before the start finish line. Wound up getting a penalty for that. Don't do that. That's not cool, man. That is not a cool thing to do if you're trying to fake somebody out like that. That's ridiculous.
Was it the leader who did the 3, 2, 1?
I'm assuming it was, because who else would do that and make it believable? But if it's not cool, and I'm not to make fun of David, but that's something I would definitely protest right away.
I don't know if that is protestable or not.
Maybe it's a good idea to have it on mute when you're green. Like I used to mute the driver chat every time it's green, and I would, unmute it during yellow. But this kind of proves that maybe that's a good idea.
Sorry, Dave, I didn't hear what you said there.
I don't know if that's protestable or not. I remember at some point hearing somebody complain in a race when two teammates were in the front and they counted each other off over TeamSpeak and got a good jump on everybody and said something along the lines of that being protestable, but I don't see how you can enforce that.
That's a little different, if you ask me. I mean, this is somebody who was on the race chat who was trying to fake out people on the restart.
Okay, Tyler Williamson ran with us. He got a P8. Ran my normal, did not qualify, and started in the back. Took my time and chipped away at the guys, killing tires. Finished with an 8X, dodging the disasters, but finished strong. Thanks to the team for helping with pit strategy and when to push it. Brian P13.
Yeah, I was actually having a pretty decent race, a clean race for Richmond. I didn't have any really serious issues. And I was in the top 10 pretty much the whole race. And then we had a late restart on a green-white checker, and somebody dive-bombed me going into turn 3, and they couldn't hold their line and wound up pushing me up into the top of the track on turn 3, and like probably 4 or 5 cars passed me when that happened. And I think I talked about this a little while ago. If you're going to dive somebody, make sure you can hold the line down there. Dive bomb them, and then you can't go underneath somebody and then expect to run up the track when you're done. That's just not cool. So anyway, P13, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
Then moving to Wednesday, we took it to Bristol. I was in top split. It was an absolute wreck fest. It was the sloppiest top split race that we've had in Martinsville in a long time, especially on the Wednesday top splits where the strength of field's been mid 4,000s. And 5 times I was able to unavoid the wreck. It was just every time it was in front of me or literally right around the corner where you couldn't even see it happening. And boom. two of those wrecks actually caused a lot of severe damage. So I was slowing down laps the whole rest of the race. Still climbed back to 21st by surviving. Even got a black flag at the end with that fifth impact. But because it was coming to a green-white checkered, I was like, all right, I'll just take the lap penalty. And the other guy that was on my lap also got the penalty. And he did pit, ended up 3 laps down. I didn't pit and ended up just losing another lap. Also in the middle of this race, it was just a night of unlucky. I was passing the guy while I was 1 lap down, literally in the process of passing him and him letting me go when the caution comes out and it gives him the lucky dog. Just to add to the unluckiness, because getting up there would have given me a shot to at least steal a few more positions. Also, we'll probably talk about this in the rest of those results too. iRacing's hamsters, they kind of had a stroke twice during the race, right? Everybody started glitching in every split. The quality bar on the right side started turning really, really red, and everybody on the server was talking, just talking. But they couldn't talk because the sound was going bad too, and we were just all kind of hoping.
We could still talk in TeamSpeak though.
We could talk in TeamSpeak, but the in-race chat was glitching out because Garrett Maines was in there trying to kind of give everybody instructions on where to run until it cleared up so that we could avoid wrecks. Several people ended up getting their drive-through penalty while it was all happening, and I actually got dumped a lap. It just scored me. It didn't score me taking one of the laps, and it put me a lap further down than I was, even though I was nowhere near anybody at the time.
Yeah, same thing in my split. The quality bar on the right side went down to as low as 68. Now, I didn't actually drop or have miss a lap or anything like that, but there were other people in my split saying the same thing. All right, I got a P26. I was running pretty good. I think I was 6th at the time, and I was working the inside lane, the guy to the outside, and a guy got literally underneath me coming out of one of the corners, I think to make it 3 wide, and I didn't realize it. I was trying to hold the inside lane and stay off the outside guy, and I keyed down and basically turned myself off his nose, and it bounced me down to the bottom and then all the way back across the track to the top, and then I got completely piled into. So it killed me, and race over, P26. Greg, you got wrecked out.
Yeah, mine had to do with the server issues. We got on the different strategy tire-wise, so I was on older tires and I was fading back, but as soon as those servers took a hit the first time, I just took it easy and ran my same line, but there's, you got cars hopping around everywhere and jumping and going all over the place, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and then it does it again, and when it started to, it was almost, I think the servers were almost ready to drop every one of us. It was way into the red at one point. I think I read 55 on iRacing side on the bar, and when it started climbing back up, there was a car. It looked like it went right through me, but I guess it was there, and it just ran me over, and I had nowhere to go, and I hit the inside wall and meatballed, and that was it. It's, I'll just, I can get mad and be mad about it, but how often does that happen in iRacing?
It's true. It doesn't happen very often. Kyle Pendergraph got a P9. Started 14th and worked my way to the front, ran consistent top 10, and then last 28 laps I hammered down and worked my way up to 5th. Lap car lost it with 2 to go, and I got collected. I was down 400 RPM, but got to restart 3rd. Tried to block the low line and keep a top 5, but just didn't have the power. Only received a 4X the whole race and kept the car straight until the last caution. Tony Rochette. P engine done, gone, blown up after some damage and a couple of cautions.
Yeah, and talking about some of those damages, like I said, when you come around the corner, sometimes there was just no time to react, and several people in the server agreed that there just, there wasn't, because you'll have some racers that get mad when somebody runs into them, but at Bristol, you can't see it, and I saw this in real life. The the few races they were running there. For a while, they had a Legends race, which was a bunch of retired drivers driving some old cars around it, and they were running without spotters. And this guy did not know that there was a wreck on the front stretch, and just comes blazing out of turn 3 and T-bones the guy, and then ended up having to go to the hospital on it because he was 70 years old. But so it's a little challenging to run at Richmond. It doesn't self clean as well as you would think it does.
Okay. And then today, Thursday Open, P2. And I tell you what, I've never, ever been so upset with a P2. I mean, I was pissed. I led the most laps, and I put this one hurt because I almost had it won. I mean, the guy honestly beat me. He was a better driver. I had the outside. He chased me down from behind. He got to the inside many times, 3 or 4 times. I had Joe Owen in there spotting for me. Thanks, Joe. Trying to keep me cool. You know, I told Joe, I don't think I've tried as hard to drive a car as I did today. I mean, I walked away just exhausted from that race, but just mentally, I was just up on the wheel as much as I could do, trying to win that thing. But at the end of the day, he was side by side with me. I was running really hard trying to hold him off, and I was going to hit the wall regardless, and he came up alongside me and was going to go into the wall with me and basically pushed me in real hard, and I got the wall and he got the lead, and then he drove away, so I couldn't catch him after that. At one point, I was keeping up with him, but then I lost him and I lost the race. But P2, Tony Rochette, P3. He stayed out of trouble, ran the tires off on the last run. He was hoping Mike and the other guy would wreck. He needed a win this year. So Tony was in my split, and we had 4 cars on the lead lap because I had lapped up to that point, all those cars. And he was just riding, just waiting for us. And at one point, during the last restart, Tony and I were side by side, and the guy behind us was coming, and he's like, okay, let's get lined up. You know, after the race, I was telling Tony, you know, maybe I should have let you go. You know, maybe you had a chance to win this race, and I messed that up. So I'm kind of kicking myself. Maybe I should have let Tony go and let him try, because I couldn't hold that guy off. I don't know if Tony could have. We were running different sets too. Great run, man. To back up my Richmond with a 4th, and then my Southern 500 win the week before, and then to come out of here with a P2, man, I'm just ecstatic about that, actually.
Well, funny you mentioned P2 because that's where I finished in the fast track sim racing race. We had a late 40 lap-ish run, and just did not have the same short run speed or even medium run speed as Greg.
22 laps.
So, was it 20? Okay.
20 or 22 laps.
Well, anyway, I just didn't have the same speed, and so I kind of spoiled Greg's announcement because Greg took the win.
Nice win.
That was a interesting race. I've never had. I think that was probably, of all the races this season, that had the most discussed about afterwards on a bunch of things. But I don't know what it was. I think maybe it was help from David that on what night was it the following week, David? Tuesday? Did I watch you Tuesday night? One of the nights I watched you race.
Yeah, I'm able to usually run a test race on Tuesdays,
it was the NAS Wednesday night because I didn't run it. That's right. I watched that, and I watched David run, and he, I picked up some pointers of how he ran the track there, and I kind of just, David's always been easier on tires in the long run, and normally I'm out trying to get ahead early, and sometimes it comes back to bite me, and I just minded my P's and Q's most of that race and watched guys just wear their stuff out. And there were some guys on the track that were how am I going to put this, trying a little bit harder than the setup was going to allow them to race. That's what best I'm going to describe it. And
there's a little bit of that.
They're using up a lot of the track, and I guess I don't know if we're going to talk about much here, but it's one thing to call it racing, and this is I get that the guys were saying that they were racing, but if we run you down from 5 seconds or 3 seconds to get to you, and then we get to you and you bring the rest of the pack back because you're racing us hard, so now you got 5 or 6 cars in the battle instead of just 2, that's where I kind of lose it. And I think they were, well, some of the things wasn't happy because I also said that I one of the guys that I was racing with, I punted him into one of the corners just to see what it would do because he was racing us so hard, and I don't know if he didn't like it or not, but I've been moved in races too already this year for wins and things like that, so I don't know where some of the talk had been about that race. I hope it doesn't translate over into next week, but I had probably, I'm gonna say it probably the best car in that race, and I finally pulled it all off and won one with it when I had the best car. So that's 2 wins from this season when I'm feel like I'm the best car on the track.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. If you want to race like Ryan Newman and race hard, then you have to accept that you're going to get moved too. If you want to race hard by holding somebody up who's faster, then bumping is racing hard too. And I mean, you have that, I guess you have that right, but I will always say that it is bad racecraft. Because when somebody, if I'll pull a name out of the hat, well, just any of the guys that are faster than me, once they catch me, I don't like to have them hounding me from behind. You know, I just get away from my ass. It's an off limits area, right? Stay.
Nope. That's a no-go zone. That's a no-go zone.
That one was just for Rochette. He'll love that one. But if they catch you and you let them go, you use less of your car up, and it's better racecraft because you both keep going, and all those other guys don't catch up to you. So my contention is it is better for you to let the other guy go than to hold him up for 40 laps. It's just selfishly better, not altruistically better. It's selfishly better. I don't do it because I want to help the other guy. I want to do it because I don't want to either get wrecked or just fight and catch a guy. And at Richmond, you can be a slower car and still be impossible to pass.
The other thing I'm going to say too, and this just goes with what is going on. Okay, if you want to, as David said, be Ryan Newman and race hard, then do it. But if you're going to race somebody hard and swap the position where, say, someone else is on the outside of you, you swap positions on the track and you were racing the other way for many, many laps, you better make sure you're not going to be the one making a mistake and then ruining the other person's race when you're trying to race them as well. Like, that's the problem that we were having in that race, is that, you know, you can run 40 or 50 laps clean, and then we get a couple times into it and one mistake's made, and then it sucks for it, right? Because it's hard to, especially imagine if one of those guys was a championship guy that was involved.
Yeah, and the truth is we're not pros, and we're going to make more mistakes. So if you continue that's just another reason I don't feel safe running with somebody who's faster than me behind me, because either I'm going to push too hard trying to hold him and I'm going to spin out, or he's going to get tight one corner and turn me, or he's just going to get tired of waiting and turn me.
And don't take what we're saying here as we don't like the league, because this league is awesome for what we're saying. It's just a great discussion point that we're having about how Richmond played out and why it was so, you know, interesting in the end.
Yeah, it's really more we're talking about a concept that applies to all the races. It's how I approach Unitas, it's how I approach everything, and I'm doing pretty well there. So it's not always a lot of the good finishes that I'm getting aren't because I'm always the fastest car. It's just because I've most of the time, probably I'd say 80% of the time, do a good job of choosing my battles.
Yeah, choosing battles. I didn't see any of this because I wrecked out on the first caution. I couldn't miss it. The car was slow and I was dead last, and I just didn't feel like riding around all night, so I parked it. Tony got a P18, just not fast at Richmond, but stayed out of trouble on the lead lap. Let's back up to official. Brian, you ran D-fixed ARCA P2.
Yeah, I just did that earlier this afternoon. I got off work a little early. Just hopped in an ARCA race and qualified on the pole. Dropped a few positions in the first half of the race, trying to save up some tires. Caught a few people back and wound up finishing P2. ARCAs are fun cars to race. That's what I do a lot on Monday nights in OBRL. So I decided to just try some of those races in some official racing. Maybe get a little bump to my IR. Try to get that a little higher.
Okay, and let's talk Monday OBRL ARCA. You got a P20.
Yeah, so this was at Southern National. If you're not aware, Southern National is a 4/10 of a mile track, tiny track. We had, I think, 28 or 29 cars come out, so a big field for that small of a track. I call it dirt track on the qualifying, which is just really just letting the back come around and try to hang on to it, and wound up getting the pole position. And then when the race was girding up, I started my car up. I saw the engine rev up, but I didn't hear a thing. Could not hear anything. So I wound up having to fix that. Missed the start of the race because of it, and had to start from the pits. And you got 28 cars on a track that's small and a 5 incident point limit before you get booted from the race. It's really not a whole lot you can do to make up a lot of positions. At one point, I checked up. The two cars in front of me got together and slowed up, and I was getting ready to run into the back of them, so I checked up pretty hard. I didn't hit them, but the car behind me hit me and spun me out, and I was stopped on the middle of the track. And it took me about 3 to 4 minutes to get back in line, because it's just a continuous lap. Cars just going round and round and round. There was no openings for me to get off of the track. I should have just exited and took the tow to the pit stall, because I couldn't get on the track. I felt stupid just sitting there, but I didn't have any openings. So I finally got down, and I don't know, I was a bunch of laps down. You couldn't pit under green and not lose a lap. It's how small the track was, and people weren't gridding up. When a yellow came out, people weren't getting together close enough that if you were towards the back of the field, you didn't have a chance of staying on the lead lap by pitting. So I found that out the hard way. But overall, considering the small little track with a lot of cars, the race was actually pretty decent. So kudos to all the guys who were in that race.
Yeah, that is a fun little track with lots of banking too. OBRL Aftermath Truck Series. Congratulations, Steve Thompson in the Ride TV 67 wins the iRacers Lounge, the Aftermath Podcast NASCAR Truck Series at Bristol Motor Speedway. Dwayne MacArthur second, Josh Robinson third. All right, final thoughts, Brian McCubbin.
Glad to be back. I missed last week and caught the very end of the show the week before that. Everything's kind of back to normal for me. It was cool to do that official ARCA race. I think I'm going to try to race at least once every week for this season, see how I make out, and go from there. But it's good to be back.
All right, welcome back, David Hall. Final thoughts.
I got a couple now for you. I don't know why I was thinking Brian lives in Wisconsin, but I think it's because of the internet quality. I thought Pennsylvania would have better internet quality, being up in the Northeast.
No, it's Pennsylvania. If you weren't aware of it, it's Pennsylvania is it's Pittsburgh in the west, Philly in the east, and Kentucky in the middle.
So I did enjoy the Aftermath show, and we didn't mention it in housekeeping, but Brian was the guest on the last Aftermath show, and it was a pretty good one. He slides right in there too. Oh, that's right. You did drop in on the end. I'm going to listen now. every time I cop on in to just like run a road race on a Saturday, I'm just going to start jumping in and shooting the shit with them when they're there. It is a fun, less crammed format, and I would call it, if you listen to Dell's show, he has the open segment, right? And it's almost like an hour and a half open segment.
Now, my question is, if I race on a Sunday or a Saturday in the afternoon, will I get invited in?
Won't ever happen. You don't race on Saturdays.
I just want to see if I get invited back in.
You don't have permission from your wife.
Well, we'll be racing this Saturday afternoon, but it won't be a Aftermath week.
This is true. But what they talked about, though, that I wanted to go more in depth in, is they were talking about Mike's injury on the wheel and running the force feedback too high. And I just wanted to say a couple things about what I look for when I set the force feedback. I'm not necessarily thinking about realism, but for sure, I don't think 100% and the max setting on the direct drive wheel is going to be what you feel in most cars. Maybe the Formula car, but generally what I aim for is to have enough resistance when I turn the wheel in the corners that I don't overturn. So it basically helps me not spin out. So I try to find a setting that just makes me smoother, more than realistic. So I tend to run a little bit higher on the road courses. Like I ran the Formula car at 70 at a road course, but I learned my lesson never to run it that high at an oval again. You probably know I power lift, and when I do get hurt lifting, it's usually not doing the 1 rep heavy weight. It's when you do something where you do 100 reps of something and you get sloppy, or you just hurt something just from being overuse. Well, when you run Indy, you do 2,000 reps of left turns. That's a lot of reps. And 2 years ago, when I ran Indy, I had it so high I had to turn it down in the middle of the race, and then fought a almost tennis elbow-like condition. So get it where it's comfortable, but it helps you not turn too much. Is my recommendation for that turning the force feedback setting.
Racing's not a sport. There's nothing physical about turning a car left.
I got an article that I'm going to put in the forums concerning that, where I did a heart rate monitor from a workout and a race, twice actually. So we'll talk more in depth about that in a week or two.
So just for the record, I run my force feedback at 80% strength in the base, and then in sim, I always hit auto force feedback after running a couple laps in the F8 box, and then I knock about 9 notches off of that, and that's where I usually run it.
But that auto force feedback is probably searching for your clip zone.
Yeah,
that's
it's
probably what
clipping. Right?
So you're setting your force feedback in the race, because obviously you're not going to have enough practice laps before you get to that to set your force feedback.
It's usually during qualifying.
That explains a lot more about qualifying now.
80 is probably too much, really. It probably is.
It probably is.
At ovals especially.
And it hurt my hand, and it was that strong. But I like it that way. Like you said, it helps you to not overdrive, because it's really hard to turn the wheel at that, at some points. And I don't know, I just like the auto force feedback where it finds that level of clipping and adjust, because every car and track is different, and it will set that differently based on that car. Even the set can change how much the force feedback goes. Like, for example, I'll be running my force feedback set on the open set throughout the week, and then Sunday night we go to fixed. I have to redo the force feedback completely because it's a different set.
It all depends on the springs you have in the front of the car, Mike. So if the car's got a heavy spring, you'll have a heavy steering wheel.
All right, Greg Hectus, your final thoughts.
I don't know. It's been a good couple days. Finally can sit in my rig and race again. I can't believe I got that Richmond win after of the least amount of laps turned at a track in an NIS season this year. Richmond was a good race for me on Monday night, and I seem to be okay in the fast track league. I can't seem to put anything together in the NIS league or races, but I think some of that has to do that I've moved into the top split area, and it's a little bit more. It just seems to be a little bit more difficult for me this season to do anything, to luck into anything, I guess too. I'm looking forward to racing with David at Bathurst, and hopefully we can bring a car home in one piece this year and see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll get 30 laps in maybe. Yeah, I can't wait.
The first stint's over, right?
And just go on, obviously, the league racing and everything. I just want to thank Bobby Jonas again for sponsoring my car with the SimWraps car. It's great to always keep putting that in victory lane. It looks great there.
All right, very good. My final thoughts, man, I'm loving the competition as we got away from those road courses. My Southern 500 win, got a 4th at Richmond, got a 2nd at Bristol, going into tomorrow night, looking for a win again. I just feel confident and a little bit cocky. I think it has to do with I'm not in the top split anymore, and maybe I can actually compete on these non-restrictor plate tracks. And in the past, I always won on the restrictor plates, and I rarely would win on another kind of track. But now that I am, man, I'm just loving it. And it's got my excitement going as far as hardware. I'm looking at that next level elite sim rig very, very closely. Deciding, what my game plan is, how am I going to build it, what am I going to buy, what are the components I'm going to get. So that's fun too. It's always exciting to plan sim racing purchases. So with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later. All right, title ideas. We got a few.